Today we have a real treat. I'm going to talk about one of the preludes, but I'm first going to talk about the last known piece that Debussy composed, The Nights Illuminated by the Coals, which was written in April or March of 1917 during World War I, when it was very, very hard to get coal, and so the coal merchant was considered a great commodity. Debussy kind of jested that he had his daughter Shushu, that little girls value coal more than they value playing with their dolls. So the fact that Debussy, he couldn't pay the coal merchant that month, so he wrote this piece for him. It's interesting, this piece is based on a line by Charles Baudelaire, Le Balcon, Le soir illumine par l'odeur du carbone, this idea of the coals. And Baudelaire had figured throughout Debussy's life. He always admired the poetry. He used it for one of the earlier preludes, the Parfums. This one, which is actually, this starts in A major. This one starts in A flat major. You know, I've talked before about how Debussy has an expansion from the half step to the whole step. Oftentimes this rises, but it's interesting with this last piece, it descends as if he's kind of, maybe there's not a sense of defeat, but perhaps there is. Perhaps there's the sense of finality as he overlooks the past of his life, the past of his works. Also in Parfum, there's even a place where he has it in A flat. So it's interesting that that is what the carbon piece is based on. Parfum, which was around 1909, 1910, from book one of the Preludes, starts in A major, whereas the coal piece in A flat very different sound, a kind of melancholic, retrospective, looking back, but not a dark sound here, I would say, but very, very different from the other one, even though they're related. You know, in the Coals, he goes on a little darker. Half step, which we've seen so often in his works, going to the whole step, and then very A flat. Very G, even though it has these seventh chords to give it a bit of a color, then F, G. So very diatonic, very much these parallel harmonies that Debussy has throughout his life. There's nothing new or revolutionary happening here. He really is overlooking what he's done. Then we go on, a little more color. Sense of pleading, maybe longing there. Then he has a double fermata. The theme returns. That A flat pedal that recurs in every measure, pedal meaning this low A flat note that's repeated. I'll do that again so you can hear it. A flat, and what's also interesting here, another thing he did throughout his works is an alternation of black key and white key notes. In Fireworks, here he's doing it too, really. We've got this D flat, then the G, A flat, E minor. So he's still playing around with this. Of course, there's half steps relation with that as well. So there's a lot that he's synthesizing with this. A flat. Very diatonic, very A flat, very calm and peaceful. Those may very well have been the last piano notes that Debussy ever wrote. So the Parfum, the sounds and scents turn in the air from this Baudelaire poem. He writes it at the bottom there. I'm not going to go into all of the... It's quite a complicated piece. It's got a lot of interesting things going on. But again, it starts with the A major. Quite a different sound, isn't it? 5, 1, something Debussy does throughout his works. Also, what's rather unique is he's done it in 5/4. The time signature says 3/4 note beats per measure, but then he writes in parentheses 5/4, and indeed we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beats, which is something that Scriabin would do. He got this idea from Chopin, actually, too, because Chopin would have groups of 5 as well. So it's interesting. This is a bit different. We don't get that in Carbon, and in fact, Carbon is in a very standard 4/4 time, to really show that he's gone back to tradition, that he's kind of gone back to his roots as he maybe contemplates the end. But not so in Parfum. And here we basically just have parallel 7th chords. Sounds like a wind machine that we got in the later movies with the da 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 da. It's an interesting kind of a thing. And then sense of longing with that. Very particular about the spaces and the rests. Repeats it. Then we go to the realm of the diminished 7th chord with these thirds. Now we're going somewhere else. Tritone chord, followed by another tritone chord that's different. Another one. Then simply whole steps. Longing. He ties this D sharp over the measure and takes us to return to the theme. 5, 1. Same thing as before. Then we go elsewhere. And then, after fermata and a double rest, which stops all the motion and the sound, he simply takes us to A flat. Interesting that he takes us there. Of course, he's so chromatic, he's dealt with opposing tritone chords that he simply invokes it. But it's interesting that that's what Carbon picks up, is that A flat, is this section where he has that. And then he goes on with it with this big very A flat. G major again, A flat. Then he takes us through a lot of different chords in rapid succession. G, B flat, G, A, C, E, G, E, C, A, C, E, G sharp. Now G sharp's interesting because it's basically we call it enharmonic. G sharp is the same notes as A flat. It's simply spelled as G sharp instead of A flat. And then he invokes sharps right here where it says rubato. And then we go on back to A major. That's how he simply takes us back to the A of the original key. Seventh chords. And then this is a really cool passage. Completely the wrong key, this F sharp. We go on. A. Now it's like a kaleidoscope of changing colors that alternate. With the C, and now C sharp. So we have C. Like before, the note held over. And then this next figure, when I was lucky to play on Debussy's piano back in 2013 in Brive-le-Gaillard, some of the things that he did that always seemed harder on the more recent pianos suddenly made sense on that piano in Brive. And one of them was double rest. A little bit more distant. A. We're very much back in the realm of A major. Now I want to close with me playing actually this piece on Debussy's piano in an impromptu concert I gave in Brive-le-Gaillard back in 2013. I had no idea I was going to do a concert. I went to try to record on the piano, but they invited me to do it the night before, so there I was playing this. And it's interesting because in these parallel passages I could hold the pedal down on Debussy's piano and they were completely clear. There's no middle sostenuto pedal on Debussy's piano. So places that you have notes that you might want to hold the bass while playing other notes, you couldn't do that. You would have to do it with the right damper pedal. You couldn't do it with a sostenuto pedal. So I found this piano. I'd love to get back and play it one day. I'm actually one of the few Americans who've been able to because it took us a year. My Swiss contact wrote in French and called in French. We got the permission of the mayor and we got the permission of the curator of the museum. And it was a very special experience for me, and I hope you enjoy hearing the sounds and scents turn in the evening air on the piano that Debussy composed it on. you.